Hey guys, thank you so much for joining me on Their Fight Story. I have Tyson Chartier with us. Tyson, how are you doing today?
Good, you?
Doing good, thank you. Um, as you know, there are so many fights happening and not happening that I wanted to touch base on management for the fighters. So, how did you get into managing fighters?
It was really by accident. I was at a gym. I was getting myself my own fights, and a couple of my friends weren't getting fights. They asked me, "Well, how do you keep staying so active?" I'm like, "I'm just getting fights." So one of my friends and one of my teammates asked if I could get him a fight. That was Louis Carapi. I got him a fight with Premier FC, and then on that same card, I got Rico DeSchulo a fight, and then little by little, the whole team was asking me to get fights. And next thing I was managing guys.
And what is the name of your management company?
Top Game Management.
How many fighters are you currently managing?
I would say like 25 to 30. We got a majority of those being like, local prospects. And I think we have 7 in the UFC right now. And then, we had one in PFL and a couple like on undercards and Bellator and stuff like that. And, Invicta, LFA. We're kind of spread out with a lot of the promotions, but majority of my guys being Northeast guys fighting for like, all the regular, Northeast promotions, whether it be Combat Zone, CES, NEF, Premier, Cage Titans, and reality fighting, and then Bellator whenever they come.
Manage. How do you find a balance between your personal life and your business? Because that's very time consuming.
Well, if you ask my wife, there's no balance. It's just all work. But I try to, I'm trying to get better at that. Is that, obviously being a dad is tough. Being a husband's tough. Managing fighters is tough. It's all hard. But I try to stay on top of my phone best I can because, being responsive is one of the easiest ways to differentiate yourself from other managers. One of the biggest complaints I hear when I talk to fighters, whether it be local fighters or fighters that have had 15 fights in the UFC, one of the biggest complaints I hear about management is that we're hard to get hold of. And so I always make it so that's not like something that they have to worry about. Like I'm very responsive. And most of my fighters know that if you reach out to me and I don't answer, I'm probably either with my kids or I'm on the mats. And then you get a call back real quick. But it's tough. I think it's definitely, something's always sacrificing, whether it be that little moment that you miss with your kids on the couch when you're looking at your phone and stuff like that. So I'm navigating that as I go. And as my kids get a little older, I'm realizing that I could probably be a little bit better with, not checking my phone as much. But it's a learning curve.
Now, what was one of the biggest challenges you had when you started your company?
I think it was just like probably getting the respect because I started out with some young fighters, and then we had some other managers that were in the gym I was at, and they kind of laughed at us. They tried to bully me around, and they're like, trying to check my work and be like, well, what's going on here? What'd you do that? And they're trying to tell me how they do it, and this is what. And it's like, yeah, maybe I didn't have the experience, but I was doing things ethically, and I was doing like, I was getting myself good fights and handling myself with care, and I was like, all right, well, if I can just handle these guys how I would handle myself and make every decision based on what would I do if this was me, and just maintain integrity, because I think that's what happens with a lot of managers is they're kind of wheeling and dealing. They're trying to tell you what you want to hear, and it was just really about just trying to overcome that stigma of like, oh, you don't know what you're doing, and then like I was cutting my teeth and figuring it out as I went. But it was just, it's not rocket science either. It's just get a fight. My guy's a good wrestler. His guy can't defend a takedown. Let's go win a fight, and then little by little, you start to gain that respect as well. Tyson's getting these guys good fights. They're all winning. And then, you start to get a little bit of recognition there. But that was probably the biggest hurdle, was just overcoming the stigma of like, oh, he doesn't know what he's doing.
Yeah. One key thing that you pointed out was that you put yourself in their shoes. And that's something that people don't get, because a lot of people, I feel like lately I've been seeing so many things, and I feel like people think it's simple. It's so easy. Oh, I can manage this person, but they don't understand that it takes so much work. Like you just had a call and you had to take it. And people don't get that it's something that it doesn't stop just because, it's not just a title. There's so much that goes in it. And by you putting yourself in their position, you get to understand what they're going through, and you make that process so much smoother for them, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, if done right, I agree. I think a lot of managers get in it to try to make money and
Yeah.
try to become kind of famous or become you know, well known or anything like that, or a little bit, fulfill their ego, or to that they can kind of brag to their friends that, oh, look, I control these alpha males, and look at me, and I think when you get in for the wrong reason, you can really kind of abuse that power or that privilege, and it's tough. You got to treat these guys like it's their wedding day. Some of them have 3 weddings a year, some of them have 4, some have 5, some have 1, and just like you'd bite your tongue on it. You've probably taken photos of people at weddings, right? And like they can say some pretty off the wall stuff, and that stuff that doesn't make sense, and your job is to try to reel that in
Yeah.
without making it about you, and try to steer them in the right direction without ruining their day. And it's tough. You got to be available, and you can't put yourself first. You got to put them first all the time, and that's not always easy. But when the phone rings at 3:30 and you answer, they don't forget that.
Yeah.
When they're talking to their friends about, do you like your manager? It's like, yeah, man, I can call him anytime and he'll answer. Like, I might not have all the answers, but I'll answer the phone.
Yeah. When you're going to manage a fighter, what is it that you look for in that particular fighter?
So I want to make sure it's a good fit. Just like, it's almost like you're dating, right? We're going to get in a relationship. It's not just, is this girl pretty? Is she not? It's everything. Like, I look at the fighter. It's like, number one, I always kind of use this line, is like, when my phone goes off and it says Igalia, right? I want to be like, yeah, what's Igalia want? Let's talk to Igalia. I want to be happy. I want to get like a positive vibe when I see your name come up on the phone. If it's not that, it's going to be tough, because then I'm like, what is she going to complain about now? What does she want? Like, so I really want to see a person that like fits with the culture, like that they have integrity. They're not looking to like cheat the system. They're good people. They have ethics. Like, I have a lot of people that reach out about managing, me managing them, and I decline. I'm not trying to be the biggest. I'm trying to surround myself with people that are pleasurable to work with. Just like if you've ever worked in an office and you get stuck in the cubicle next to a guy that no one likes, and then that just makes your job, like, it could be an amazing job, but that makes the job less enjoyable. So I don't want to be stuck into any cubicles next to people I don't like. So it's like they got to pass that sniff test. Like, they reach out, first I'm looking, are they talented enough to win in the UFC? If the answer is no, it's like, well, then they don't need me. Then they just, they probably want a manager because they think I can pull some favor. But the reality is, like, your talent's going to dictate how far you can go. Now we just have to make sure that you make the right decisions to fulfill the like capabilities of what that talent can do. And then, so if they're good enough if I think, all right, this person like has a good team around them, they're talented, they could probably win some fights in UFC, and with a few tweaks win a lot of fights in UFC. All right, let's invest some time here. Now it's like, all right, do they pass? They pass the the talent test. Now do they pass the the integrity test? Like, if I talk to a couple of people that used to train with them, or maybe another coach they used to work with, is this person a douchebag? Are they passing that? Like, if they're not a good person, they burned a lot of bridges in the past. They, people are like, oh, that guy's kind of weird with money. He used to do this at this job, or this, that, it's like, you're almost like doing a little investigative reporting, like you're doing a background check on that person. Is this a person that I can trust? Is this a person that I can loan money to and not get stiffed, And, so you're trying to really make sure it's like you vet it and make sure that they'd be a good fit with your culture. And also, is this person a good person? Like, because they're going to be out there running their mouth or doing whatever, maybe committing crimes, doing something stupid, and that's going to reflect on me, and ultimately it's going to reflect on my other athletes. So like, I have a duty to them to say, all right, you're with TopGame management, that means X, Y, and Z. It's like, now all of a sudden, if one other TopGame management guy comes out and he does something horrible in the news or whatever, drunk drives, who knows, and then all of a sudden it's like, I'm attached to that, so I'm trying to surround myself with good people that make the right decisions. They're in this for the right reason. And then the next part would be like, are they willing to put in the work? Because you can have all the talent in the world and be a great kid, but if you're not willing to put in the work, then why should I put in the time with you? Like, I can't want it more than you do. I can't try to work harder at your career than you're going to work. So like, that's another thing, is like, if I talk to a coach and like, dude, this kid, he'll do whatever we say. Like he's in there, he's pushing, he won't quit. Like he might not always win, but he will not quit. I can work with that more than I can win with the guy that most of the time is going to win, but when he doesn't, he just walks out of the gym. So those are really the three things I look for. Are they a good person? Are they going to fit? Are they talented? Are they a good person? And do they have a good work ethic?
What about their record?
Obviously, record matters, because if someone comes to me and they're 3-14, they're never really going to go to the UFC. So why would I take money from them? And then when you're looking at it from like, okay, is this a good investment standpoint? You know, my time is worth something, right? And if I'm going to invest my time into this, me focusing on getting a fight for a kid that's 3-14, that's taking that fight that could have gone to this kid over here who is 2-0 and could eventually get to 10-1, and then potentially go and further his career and and make a career of it. But so record does matter. It's not the only distinguishing factor, because like I said, I've signed amateurs,
Mm-hmm.
so I'm not just looking for someone who's UFC ready. I'm looking to build someone and invest in their career for the long haul. But when someone's like super dented, it's tough. But when a good example of that is like look at Dennis Paiva. He's 13-7 now. When we started working together, he was 3-5, and we started advising his career. We've gone 10-2 over the last 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
And now he's like right on the cusp of like, hopefully we can get him on the contender this summer. So people like that. So it's not always just about the record. Like you can look at, okay, are they young enough to turn it around? What's going on? But record obviously is important though, but it's not the only thing.
Now, when you look at the record, do you also look at who they've been fighting? Because sometimes, obviously, they could be fighting people that have gone to the UFC. So,
yep. So you're looking at that. You're looking at like strength of schedule. You use that term in football. Like you're looking at strength of schedule. You're looking at, okay, who they lose to, but how did they lose? Like, all right, they got 4 losses, but they're the 4 UFC guys. So you look at that stuff, and overall, it's like the more you do it, you can kind of pull up someone's topology and see real quick, all right, this person's probably a lot better than the record, or they're a lot worse than the record. That happens a lot. And then you're looking at, are they beating the guys that they should beat handily? Are they struggling with guys that they shouldn't struggle with? And then you look for people that like, okay, I know this guy kind of sucks and he struggled with him. So like maybe this guy's just kind of a poster boy. He's not actually as talented as he might look on paper. So, and you're trying to it's really a gut instinct. When you look at it, you kind of deductive reasoning. You're looking at for tendencies and things like that, and then overall you get like a gut feeling of like, I don't know, this kid might be a bit of a project and might not pan out, or hey man, this kid could be a project, but like I really think there's a lot of upside here.
have you ever run into a case where you've seen a fighter that you're like, oh my gosh, I wish I could sign him, but he's being managed under somebody else? Or actually maybe not even be managed. Now there's like, somebody else is handling them, maybe not real management yet. Have you ever come across that?
I think I'm one of the very few managers, I think, that doesn't actually poach. So I'm not like reaching out to UFC fighters on Instagram, be like, hey, who's your manager? Or like, hey, if you're ever looking for management, like playing dumb. Like those managers that do that, they're acting like they don't poach. No, they're poaching, because they're trying to figure out what's going on. They're trying to grow their roster, and they're trying to see if you'd be willing to talk. So I don't do any of that. Any of my growth is organic. Like if I get a UFC guy, it's they don't have a manager and I'm friends with their coach or something like that, or we cross train and then the conversation comes up. But I think early on in my career, I just saw some really talented fighters in the Northeast that never panned out. And I think a lot of it was due to mismanagement. I always say like Nate Lamont, he was kind of winging it earlier in his career. He was super talented. I think had he had like more of a structure in place on the management side, then I think he really could have gone to the UFC and done well. I would say, what's his face? He's from Triumph. Dennis Olsen. He was another one. He was like super talented. Then he kind of just started taking like really tough fights out of desperation. And then next thing you know, he went from being a guy that was definitely going to go to the UFC to like, oh, he's never going to go to the UFC. And then another guy was like something like John Ortoloni. I think his second or third pro fight, he fought Dan Lozon.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't need to do that. Like, so I just think like I saw like a few guys that I know are like super talented, and you look at the record now and you're like, oh wow, how'd that happen? And it was just they got kind of mismatched. So that was the only thing I was like, I wish like there's a couple guys that I really like as people that I respected their abilities that I wish like I had been in the game a little bit earlier that I think I could have made a big difference with. Into it, I guess.
You think the fighters should take the time before just jumping on the first fight that they get offered because they haven't been fighting?
Yeah, I mean that's what my job is to protect them from themselves. Like I
Yeah.
want the fighter to take whatever stupid fight's offered to them because they think they can beat everybody, and I want them to be ready to fight everybody tomorrow. But it's my job and the coach's job to like reel them in. Say, hey, I get that. I like the enthusiasm, but that one doesn't make sense.
Mhm.
And then they have to have the trust in us to make that decision with them and for them. But some will say, "F it, let's go," and then the other ones will be like, "No, I get it. That makes sense. That's why you're here." So that would be an ill-advised decision is to get emotional and make a decision out of haste and desperation because that's never really pans out for your career long term.
Yeah.